but he basically makes a song in AI, not Allen Iverson, but artificial intelligence. He uses the voice of Tupac and the voice of Snoop, and then a third verse from himself, basically commanding, basically commanding Kendrick to rap. I mean, look, some people thought it was corny. Some people thought it was innovative. Some people was like it would be corny, except for when Drake does it. Some people say it will be cool except for if Drake does it. I'm not here to analyze the song right now, but there is something to be said about the fact that he used Tupac's voice. And again, Tupac is Kendrick's hero, and and Drake basically used his hero against him. Had his hero in his voice, although it's Drake's rapping and Drake is doing the rapping, they just used the Tupac artificial intelligence filter. I don't know how they do all that stuff. All I know is it sounded like Tupac was telling Kendrick he ain't shit. Well, whether you think it's clever or not, I can tell you the Tupac Estate did not find it clever. They came for Drake today and they threatened to sue the Canadian rapper. Now, the question is, how serious are they about it? I don't know. I can't say. What I do know is they didn't like it. They issued a statement that said, the estate is deeply dismayed and disappointed by your unauthorized use of Tupac's voice and personality. The estate would never have given its approval for this use. And earlier in that same statement, he said the song was a, quote, blatant abuse of the legacy of one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time. Now, some people are going to say, well, this is that big of a deal. Maybe Drake didn't know. Maybe he wasn't trying to be disrespectful. All of that could be true in the abstract sense, but it's not true. He did it because he wanted to do it. You notice he didn't release it as a single on iTunes. He put it on Instagram because he didn't want the copyright. Problem is, stuff like this in the age of digital reproduction is going to get out anyway. So he knows that. Drake is a genius. He puts it out on Instagram knowing people are going to dub it, copy it, repeat it, reproduce it, whatever. So Drake understood that was going to happen. And I get on some underground stuff. Sometimes you don't clear samples. Sometimes you do something that the artist may not care for. Hell, the whole mixtape rapping over somebody else's beat shit is probably on some level not that far outside of this, right? And all of hip hop history ain't been nothing but taking people's records and redoing them in reggae, dub plates. I mean, it's all of it is part of the mix. But Drake did it to Tupac and Snoop, and Snoop ain't gonna say nothing because Snoop don't want to look like a rat. But it's also very interesting because Drake uses, because I'm sure Snoop and Drake rock, they're cool. But Snoop is from the West Coast, and Kendrick is his little homie, is his nephew. So you put Snoop in an awkward position, but Snoop ain't gonna sue. Kendrick, however, wasn't worried about Snoop's diss probably as much as he'd be worried about Tupac's, because Tupac was his hero, although Snoop is big homie. And so the Tupac verse was the one that was necessary for this to be fire, for this to just be over the top, like crazy good. And so he got Pac, but guess what? Tupac's legacy didn't want it, and I guarantee you, I knew Afeni Shakur. Afeni Shakur would have hated that Drake did that. So I'm not mad at them. And people say, well, Drake is just doing what he does. Yeah, that's the problem. Drake did the same thing to Halle Berry. He issued a track called Slime You Out with SZA. They took a picture of Halle Berry from the 2012 Kids' Choice Awards where she was getting slimed. And Drake asked Halle Berry, he reached out and said, can I use this photo? She said no. Drake used it anyway. Halle Berry said specifically, didn't get my permission. That's not cool. I thought better of him. And later she said it's about principles and integrities, implying he didn't have it. So Drake has a pattern history of violating copyright rules, of taking people's stuff without permission and just saying, we'll work it out. We'll work it out. It'll get worked out. Halle Berry let it go. I promise you the Tupac legacy, the Tupac estate ain't gonna let it go. So Drake better stand down, disappear that track. Sample's one thing, but to make a verse in Tupac's voice. And here's the thing. I get the innovation piece of it. I get the idea of saying I want to do something that nobody's ever done before. I get the idea of saying I just want to be different. And on some level, I respect all of that, right? Because honestly, he did some shit ain't nobody ever done before. And on some like, yo, that was crazy. Tupac is telling you, you need to rap, you need to make another song, you need to fight back. You disrespected the West Coast right now. At that level, I get it, right? It's the greatest troll ever. But you can't just jack people's legacy. You can't just take people's estate. You can't just take the food out of families' mouths. You can't just violate this. I mean, there's rules to this shit. And there's a way that Drake on this issue is just moving like a white man. It's like, I'm gonna do what I do, and y'all darkies figure it out later. Now that might be too harsh. You might say I'm being too harsh or I'm reading too much into it. I'm not saying that that's Drake's motivation. I'm not saying anything about what's in Drake's head. I'm only saying that's how it looks. So Drake may see a very, very big lawsuit coming up soon. And that's a warning to all you other people who might think about using AI. Because that's the other piece of this. The world's going to be watching because it's like Drake did this interesting thing, but he also may have opened the door that people aren't thinking of. Like, how do you battle back against somebody? Now, I heard some interesting uses of AI and rap. Like Beanie Siegel said he's going to make an album using AI technology to replicate his own voice because he had injuries and things and throat conditions that make it harder to sound like he did on The Truth or The Becoming or all of his early albums that we all love. I'm a big Beanie Siegel fan. So I ain't mad at that, but using it to sound like somebody you're not, at some point, it's gonna be like, do you need talent? If I can just AI my voice, if I can just fake, I can be anybody. Shit, I'm gonna be Luther Vandross and make all the money. So you have to draw lines for tech reasons. You have to draw lines for legal reasons. Hip hop's a competitive art and it's an innovative art. I don't want to see AI cheapen that. So I'm not glad that he's getting sued. I'm not glad or sad that Drake's getting sued. I'm just happy that people are dealing with this now. It's just like the hologram stuff that again people try to use Tupac for because again nobody wants to let Pac go. Pac was a legend. He was wonderful. He was amazing. He was brilliant. So we all just want pieces of that legacy, whether it's through holograms or whether it's through AI. I think Drake just wanted to troll Kendrick Lamar at that moment, but even he has a deep admiration for Tupac. And so I feel it, I understand it, but the AI, it's just a bridge too far for me.